If I could describe Novaczar in one sentence, I would say that she is a siren, a witch, mermaid, capital from the Hunger Games, non-binary leading lady in distress. So Novaczar was sort of like peeking through like just her eye. Like that was it when I was 18, and I fell in love with this drag queen. Her name is Kiara Queen, and she fortunately just passed away recently, which was really sad and very unexpected. But she was one of the first sort of androgynous queens who showed me that drag can be so much more than just female impersonation. And she used her love of dance to marry her love of drag together to create her drag persona. And so that's when I was starting to dabble. And then I went to college in Chicago and I started to become more delved into what drag was there. And then I really started to blossom when I moved to New York City about 3 years ago. So Novaczar's drag style definitely always has this underlying element of punkness, sort of a punk rock, rebellious, edgy, very artistic. If you just like took all the colors you could possibly imagine and threw them in a blender and then just like threw them all over yourself, that is Novaczar. I love to be bright and colorful and use neon colors and just splatters of art everywhere, super like kind of like an abstract painting almost that doesn't make any sense, but you can't look away because it's so interesting and something you've never seen before. I would also say that there's definitely a touch of romance, a touch of glamour, definitely a touch of sexiness and sort of this like sinister evil element, but always kind of dabbling that line of non-binary gender, androgyny, sort of non-conforming elements of fashion. And street art from Brooklyn also is a huge inspiration for a lot of the things that I like to wear and how I present myself. Today I am at Mirror Tone Studios with Electropoint, and we are recording One Human Family, which is my new duet single with Honey Davenport, one of my drag mothers. And it's gonna be a really upbeat, fun, sort of Motown inspired song, and hopefully you jam it on your radio and in the clubs. So my music writing process, basically what I do is I get the instrumental for the song, and it's usually based on inspirations that I've explained, like, oh, I want it to sound like these two songs, or I want this vibe, or I want to give off this feeling. And then I listen to the whole instrumental, and honestly, I can start hearing melodies in my head, and I can start kind of just in this weird way singing the melody based on what I hear within the instrumental, and then I'm able to kind of put lyrics to it based on what the melody or the instrumental makes me feel. If it's really slow, or if it's really fast, it'll make me feel anxious, so I'll start saying words or lyrics that are in that context. So when I'm writing music, if you want me to be completely honest, honestly, marijuana helps me sort of get into this creative state of mind. Not that I need it in order to be creative and to write music, but it definitely helps kind of get those inspirations flowing. And honestly, when I wrote Empress, I remember I got really, really high, and I listened to that track for like 3 hours, and it just flowed out of me. It helps me just get more in touch with my soul. So today we were in here recording the song that I am collaborating with Honey Davenport on, who is one of my drag moms, and she was also on season 11 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And this song is called One Human Family. My first thought when we started to talk about collaborating was I needed to do something that was sort of in this weird way like my love letter to her, because I feel like she's done so much for me and she's been so supportive of my art and my journey that I really wanted to kind of explain that through the lyrics and through this song. And it's also kind of like Motown inspired and really upbeat and fun, which is definitely a little different for me, but I'm really excited about it.
Hi, I'm Honey Davenport from RuPaul's Drag Race season 11. I would describe Novaczar as an incredible out-of-the-box performer. Like, they can give you glam goddess, they can give you rock and roll, they can give you everything in between, and the vocals are untouchable. Like, there's not another queen in the game who's really singing the way that Novaczar is singing. It's not happening.
Working with Honey and Nova is just a really great time, you know, not just in the studio, but also the whole process of making a track and brainstorming the different directions they want to go. And what I really love about it, and this was the case on the last album I did with Honey and also the last track that I did with Nova, is that they're making music that has meaning. And that's something I really enjoy. I've done drag songs of all different types, you know, parody songs or club bangers that are just really cool and fun to listen to, but these songs actually have some meaning, some message to impart to their listeners. And this track's no different, so I'm super excited for everybody to hear it.
You better know that I love you. To be able to work on a song with Honey is like really it's really iconic and a little surreal for me because I look up to Honey so much and she's created so much music and it's all so beautiful and really well thought out and like produced so well. And the fact that she trusts me enough and trusts not only my artistic abilities and my talent, but also my spirit and my soul in order to put something out with me like this is a huge honor. And I'm excited to have this come out and to hopefully create more music. So this is my second time working with Electro Point, and honestly, I remember the first time that I recorded Empress and I was fully feeling my fantasy. He makes you feel so comfortable and like he really knows what he's talking about, and he just makes you feel like you are a rock star when you're singing. And so it was really fun to collaborate on Empress together. And now with doing this, I'm really excited because it's definitely a different take and a whole different vibe song-wise, but he still creates magic and I'm excited about it. So some of my favorite looks that I have shown as Nova's over the years, there's this gown that I made for the Glam Awards. This was something I was really proud of and I spent weeks on. This skirt that I have here was actually made by Beck Jones, and I wore this for my Cruella inspired photo shoot that I did with Evan Ipock. This is one of my favorite pieces. This here, this is something that I had prepared for Queen of the Universe. One of the categories was Sexy Silver. And this is basically like an armored corset piece that was made by Bunism in Thailand. Novaczar's style, it's It ranges. Novaczar style literally is like a little touch of 80s, a little with like, super contrasting, high, bright colors, very abstract, edgy, avant-garde, almost sinister looking, punk rock, sexy, sort of non-binary, androgynous club kid energy. I do make a lot of my own stuff. Used to do it a lot back in the day, but now I don't really have a lot of time. But something that I still do very often is spray paint a lot of my stuff. I mean, my whole entire apartment's pretty much spray painted. I like doing that because it's so easy just to like grab a jacket or something, or a pair of pants or a shirt from a thrift store or even Amazon, and just spray painting it and like ripping it apart, and then it looks like this custom couture piece that nobody's ever seen before, but it was so easy to do. My early life was, it was rough. It wasn't like your typical average family. Early life, my mom, she had a disease called fibromyalgia, which is a disease that it attacks your immune system, so you're constantly sick. And so she was always in bed and wasn't really working at all, and was always just not feeling well and was feeling very crummy all the time. And then my dad, he was an alcoholic, and he also worked in like food and beverage, managing hotels throughout like my younger life. And I have a brother who is about 5 years older than me, and we were growing up, we didn't really get along very well, and so we weren't really close. And my kind of only my mom and my dad would fight like all the time, and so that made it really hard for me to kind of like be happy at home. And I found that theater and sort of being like creative and exploring that like from a very early childhood, along with like having close friends and stuff, that really made it easier for me to sort of deal with all of the stuff that was going on like with my family. I think that with everything that I've been through, and especially with the loss of my mom at such a young age, it's made me want to be as feminine and as like feminist as I possibly can. And because I felt like I'm sort of leading ahead this legacy that I feel like she sort of left behind, that she wasn't able to fulfill, and it sort of feels like my duty as Novaczar and as like a queer, young, hyper feminine individual, that I sort of need to live out that legacy that my mom left behind. My mom was super colorful, gregarious, rebellious, didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought. Very hardcore, and I definitely think that a lot of that bleeds into Novaczar. That's where I feel like I get my like, oh, I don't really give a fuck about what people say or how people feel about me, because I'm punk, I'm rebellious, I'm very I feel like what I do is such a form of protest, which I feel like is how my mom kind of like lived her life. And so it sort of inspires like kind of where I'm going when it comes to Novaczar. Drag definitely helped give me this boost of confidence to accept like my non-binary spirit, the more fluid aspects of like my gender expression. And I think it's because for me, drag is like a personified version of my inner self, and I feel it's this sort of superhero cape that I can put on and use to share my thoughts and my feelings about the world, whether it be visually or through action and performance. And I definitely think it's sort of helped me get more in touch and sort of become a more confident individual when it comes to how I like to express myself, even out of drag, when it comes to like my gender expression. So my experience being on reality television was absolutely crazy. I didn't know what to expect going in. First of all, you don't realize how many people actually work on a TV show. And there's like so many different extras, so many different production people that all do different things, and they don't tell you like what exactly they do. Everything is like super secretive and planned out. And it was kind of like a whirlwind. There were moments where I was like, is this really happening right now? Like, I can't believe that they chose me, like, you know, this queen from New York, which sure, that sounds like a big deal, but I don't know. I just didn't know if I was like necessarily worthy of this opportunity, especially because the TV show that I was on was international. So they literally handpicked me out of so many people who auditioned, not just in the US, but in like the whole world, which was like frightening and definitely scary, but I mean, it was rewarding. And you know, I now I feel like I gained a lot of connections and a lot of beautiful friendships throughout the process, but it was definitely intimidating, to say the least. For instance, if I went on a singing show, I would make sure that the songs that I sing actually showcase my full potential, because I felt like when I was on the TV show that I was on, I felt very naive and sort of green, considering I've never been on TV and I didn't know like the ins and outs of everything. And I wish that I knew to sort of stand up for myself in a way and be able so that I could be showcased in the way that I feel people actually know who I am. And I felt like when I was on TV, I don't feel like I was showcased in the way that I could have been. I guess if that makes sense. Like I felt like I was given the short end of the stick. There are still moments where I feel like I'm in the same place I was before I auditioned for the show that I was on. And that's, you know, a little sad, but I also think that there are moments where I'm like, oh no, like, you know, I still get recognized and, you know, I still get really cool opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten had I not been on the show. So it's kind of like, it goes very much hand in hand. I don't regret going on reality television. I think that it happened for a reason. And I think that for whatever that reason is, I kind of just accept it, and I kind of have already sort of accepted my fate of the reality of what happened. And now I'm sort of just like, okay, let's figure out what's happening next. You know, like how can I use, you know, this little platform or this big platform and use it to my advantage so that I can continue to spread my art with as many people as possible. So tonight we are going to be going to the Monster Bar, which is my home bar, and the Monster Bar actually gave me the opportunity to become a full-time drag queen. And I host a RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14 viewing party there every Friday. So we're gonna watch the episode, and I host the show, and then I also do some numbers in between the commercial breaks. I do like a trivia round for the audience, so if they I'll ask them like a bunch of questions, and if they get the answer correct, then they get a free shot. I'll also do a little singing at some points, and just make sure that the crowd is drinking, because the bar needs to make money, and that's the only way that I get paid. And it's really fun. It's quick. It's like a quick gig, but I do enjoy it. It's a good time. So the difference between Manhattan drag and Brooklyn drag, I think the Brooklyn scene is kind of cliquey. In a way, not to say that Manhattan isn't, because Manhattan definitely has its cliques, but I think more so Brooklyn is definitely, there's like a family aspect of it, and they fiercely are loyal to like the people that they support and the people that they want to uplift, or the artists that they want to book and include in like the things that they do. And it's also, Brooklyn drag is definitely way more experimental and way more like risk-taking than Manhattan. I would say Manhattan, however, is more like commercial-based, sometimes more of a polished form of drag, which is not to say, that Brooklyn drag isn't polished, because there definitely are, some things in Brooklyn that are more polished than things in Manhattan. A lot of people that follow me that have known me for many, many years and have sort of seen this like progression of Novaczar, and it's honestly like really humbling that people are that interested in me, that they have stuck around for so long and kind of enjoy watching like the process of the evolution of Novaczar. And also there's a lot of people that I've gained kind of like throughout the world, ever since Queen of the Universe, have gained a more international fan base, which has been fun. Being able to like connect with them on social media is wonderful. Having queens that live in New York or that live around New York that will meet at events and stuff like that, and they come up to me and they're like, oh, like, you're so amazing and I'm so inspired by you. I'm always like, it kind of puts me in this weird position, because a lot of people think that I'm like this diva, and I think it's just because I take myself very seriously and I take my art very seriously, but I'm actually pretty humble when it comes to when people compliment me or when they say that they're like inspired by me and stuff. I'm always like, oh wow, like I just feel like there's so many artists out there, and it means a lot when people think that I'm one of those people that they are willing to put their energy and time into, that they admire. I would hope that my lasting impression on the New York drag scene would be that bitch never repeated a look. that bitch can literally serve you anything, can serve you a super high feminine glamour moment, and then a super dark rock grungy fantasy, and that you just never knew what she was going to give in terms of her aesthetic. And then I also would hope that people will remember me for my voice and the way that I can move an audience with it when people are paying attention, and that they recognize my like what's the word? My ambition and my drive. And I hope that one day it's respected and people, understand why I work so hard, because I love what I do so much.
quick. All right. Will you check my pulse? How is it? Still beating, right? All right, will you check this one for me? Great. Okay, cool. Will you check this one? Oh! Just kidding. Because I'm a femme what? He wasn't paying attention. Who knows the answer? I'm a femme what? Top. I mean, hello. This one's like, baby, I'm a bottom. Of course I paid attention, am I right?